GWAR, man. Like GWAR is a band that I absolutely loved watching. I got to see them like at different stages of my life, I guess you could say, like when I was younger to a little bit older, you know. So I got to enjoy seeing the different current events that they would poke fun at. I got to take different people to see them for the first time. They had no idea what they were getting themselves into, and it was always hilarious to see them get like just covered in guck, you know, the typical stuff that GWAR would like doing. And you know, Odorous is just like the best, in my opinion, frontman as far as like entertainment and stuff, like on the spot, like real witty, real funny person, you know. So to know that he's gone, it sucks, but I mean, I really appreciate the fact that GWAR has like a lot of good, left a lot of good memories for me to talk about, like whenever people want to hear like my favorite shows of all time. It'll always be GWAR.
Yeah, I remember I saw them at Sounds of the Underground.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was cool where they had those cannons.
Yeah.
Where they would throw stuff.
The cranberry juice.
Yeah.
Blood, what have you.
And I went with a friend who was going specifically like to see that band, and he went with a white t-shirt. And I was like, why are you going? What's the point of the white t-shirt? He's like, you'll see. And he went up to the front. So when he came back, he was covered in all different colors. He looked like a tie-dye shirt. It was super cool.
And speaking of going with a white shirt intentionally, I had a girlfriend at the time that didn't even know where I was taking her, but she took a white shirt. She had no idea what kind of band I was about to like reveal to her. She was definitely not into metal, but she didn't mind going with me to stuff I liked and vice versa, right? I was like, hey, we got to go up front for this. And sure enough, here it comes, man. Just blasted us with all this crap.
And he shoots all that shit from his fake dick.
Yeah, she was pissed because she ruined essentially like her garb. And, you know, she may have been pissed back then, but I'm pretty sure she'll always remember she went to a GWAR show. So
you cannot forget that. Stand up. For me, one of the most memorable, one that I'm like so glad I went to, was Pantera. That's the band that like blew me away. I got to see them on their Reinventing the Steel tour, which sadly became like their last tour. So I'm really glad I got to see them. And at that point, I was already playing guitar, and I was a huge fan of Dime. So I fought my way to the front when Pantera was going to come on. And I fought to stay there. I'm a short dude, so I remember the next day, my arms and shoulders were super sore. My calves were sore because I'm trying to like stay on my tiptoes, trying to see everything. And I fought to just stay in front of Dime and like bask in his awesomeness. And I feel like at one point I made eye contact with Dime. I swear, like at the moment, I was like, it was like a religious experience. And I just turned around, like Dime's throwing guitar picks, and I was like, oh shit! And so I remember making a mad dash, and like I got all this Hulk strength out of nowhere. Yeah. So I'm like pushing people out of the way, and I see a little black thing on the floor, and I snatched it up. I didn't even like bother to check what it was. We walked out of the venue, and it wasn't until we were in the parking lot where I felt like, because I was like, if I open my hand out now, like someone's gonna swipe it from me. So when we were like getting to the car, I opened it up, and it was like that moment in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The little, like, oh shit, it's a fucking Dimebag guitar pick. I still have that framed in my house. It's like one of my most prized possessions. What's one of the ones that like surprised you? Was there any band that like you didn't think much of, and you're like, oh shit, this is pretty badass?
Well, man, Mudvayne. I don't want to.
Right on.
I'm gonna admit this, man. I was really big into Slipknot. I still, I'll still listen to them, right? But it was really the first album as a young teenager that I was like, man, this is something really badass, right? So I was all about their first release. And it wasn't until I went to go see Slipknot for the second time that I came across Mudvayne. And I'm only saying this, I'm not saying that they're very influential to me or anything like that, right? I was just blown away being a teenager. I think I was like 15. I was young, right? And all of a sudden I see like this just as weird band opening up for, Slipknot. And to me, the bass player, that guy Ryan Knight, I can't remember what his, no, it's Ryan Knight's from Black Dog, my bad, yeah. But Ryan something, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but that bass player, that bass sound, hearing it live, I think, is what tripped me out, because it was like bing, bing. I was like, what is that? Like, at the time,
You stood out.
I knew nothing about bass slapping pick. I still don't technically. So even today, like sometimes I don't hear anything as like Mudvayne on bass. You know what I mean? I do know of like a lot of bands that have really kick-ass bass players. Don't get me wrong, right? But the fact that I was so young, hearing this like pang, pang, pang throughout the entire night, I was just like, dude, who is this? You know, and of course, like I remember the ticket on my stub said Mudvayne.
Oh,
like they
shit.
misspelled the band, so I was like, yeah, some band called Mudvayne.
What? What the fuck?
I still have the ticket. I'll show it off sometime. But yeah, like I said, this is going back way back in the day. Like when I was 15, I tripped out with that band. I was like, what the hell? And you know, from there, it was one of those things where I looked forward to seeing other bands that I'd never heard of before, like open up for all these bands. Same thing with Lamb of God. I remember I'd never even heard of those dudes. I'd never heard of Lamb of God. I'd never heard of bands like Darkest Hour. And I was just like, dude, like, you know, Darkest Hour became one of my favorite bands. And it was just one of those moments where, like, these bands I'd never heard of were just like, man, I'm looking forward to more and more of these shows, just because I was getting a little bit more exposed to what was out there, and not necessarily easy access at the time for me.